Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Steel City Motors and another vehicle highlight. Today we are hopping into one of the vehicles that I've been quite excited to review. This is a vehicle that I actually almost ended up buying. So I was between this and the Blazer. I ended up getting the Blazer. It was just the time that I was shopping around and what was available. There weren't a ton of Acadias in the trim that I wanted, but nevertheless, let's jump into the car that is one of my top picks for its category, the 2019 GMC Acadia SLT1. Okay, so looking at this generation of Acadia, it's definitely a nicer facelift from the previous kind of weird roundish squarish generation, which again, it wasn't a too bad generation previously, but it looked a little more dated, so this is definitely an update. And then the ones after this kept getting more facelifts, which is always really nice. As you can see, it does still have a little bit of that rounder front to square rear transition, but it's a lot more fluid. It's a lot more kind of incorporated. The lines on the vehicle flow a lot better, and to me that's definitely a plus. It looks a lot more cohesive, and those roof bars definitely pull everything all together. The wheels on this vehicle are also a little bit larger, a little bit nicer right here. These are 18-inch wheels in this little gunmetal gray situation, and that really just pulls together the look. It's not super flashy, it's not super basic, it's kind of all the best of both worlds. So let's jump into the interior and really get to the good stuff. Okay, y'all, so welcome to the interior. As you can see, it is a very nicely done leather appointed interior. We've got all of the modern comforts that GM has to offer and a good bit of style points in between. We've got the captain's chairs for this iteration with the all-weather floor mats, which I've actually had in all my GM vehicles, and they're definitely a lifesaver here in Alabama. And then we've got the third row, which actually to me has quite an ample bit of room, as you can see, with the legroom and the headroom, which I think is really important because a lot of third rows feel pretty claustrophobic. And even though the passage between them is not as wide as it is in the Tahoe, for the size and the distribution of all the features in this vehicle, this works great. This is the kind of third row vehicle that you get if you don't want something super clunky and cumbersome, want some MPG, and still want that kind of luxurious feel of a third row GM vehicle on that higher end. So this is really a great all-in-one. That being said, before we jump into the driver's seat, let's look at all of the details. Even these side storage panels and the cup holders and everything are really nicely done. Like, everything is very well executed for all of the passengers. These seats are super easy to fold down, slide down, all that good stuff. As you can see, they will also trundle. I'm not going to trundle it all the way, but as you can see, it's a pretty easy kind of up and down go. There's up and down as well on the armrest, so you can customize that, give yourself more or less room in certain categories. The captain's chairs are also really well contoured, as is the rear bench, which is really nice because a lot of times vehicles will neglect to contour and really appoint the rear seats, and here it is not the case. These front seats are moved back quite a little bit, and as you can see, I still have ample legroom and headroom. I am right around 5'10", so to me, you know, that's pretty important because I do not fit well in all cars, and I feel like I'm about to play limbo and hit my head on something in a lot of them. So this one is definitely not that. Wandering back real quick, we've got this power tailgate right here, so let me activate that. Real nice and easy, as you can see with the buttons, and you actually get a good little bit of room over here, mostly into the height category than the depth category when it comes to having cargo space. With all the seats up, you've got a good little bit of storage down here, as well as underneath. You've got these compartments, and this little bit should be removable, but typically you want to keep that in. So you've got a good bit of under and over storage, even with all these seats up. Now, looking at what it looks like with these seats down is another kind of great thing, is that this is very flat. It offers a good bit of flexibility in cargo space if you want to have one passenger back there, what have you, or if you want to have no passengers back there. It's super easy to fold these seats. There's not a lot of gradients, so you can definitely place whatever you need over here. And this, with the seats down, offers 79 cubic feet of cargo space, and you can definitely see that here. All right, y'all, boom, welcome to the driver's seat. Let's get a quick little rundown. So we've got the typical door controls here, from the tailgate height controls, which is excellent if you're parked in a garage or a carport, to the pedals, the hood pop and OBD reader, the parking brake, and the display brightness. Here we've got the typical GM display for the cluster. We've got an analog and digital. Here we've got the information for the cluster, the cruise control, and some of the phone controls right here. So you can scroll through different informational settings, different like battery voltages, timer, fuel economy, all that jazz. So trip computer, that's all very, very handy here. Typical infotainment system for this generation of GM, from things like, you know, projection, audio, like the different sources from the radio to the media, like the phone, that's my phone right there, to other apps, and the rear climate control, which is really nice if you have kids back there or somebody doesn't want to mess with it. Apps include things like My GMC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and iHeartRadio, so that's really, really nice there. You have different ways of kind of connecting to this, whether it's wired or wireless, which is really excellent. And then in the settings, if you go into all of that, you can have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and a lot more different things. So for the space and kind of configuration, you've had a really, really nicely appointed interior. All the lines are fluid, they're stitching along the dashboard, and everything feels very upscale. Down here we've got this seat heat, some outlets, and USBs. Everything is really nicely done here, from the shifter itself to the driving modes, which we have Tour, Snow, and Sport. So the snow mode is kind of like for sleeker, you know, roads when it's icy or cold outside and there is not as much traction, so this provides more traction. We don't really get a lot of snow in Alabama, but nevertheless, it's a nice mode to have when the roads are slick. Good little bit of storage right here in the center console, and a very deep glove box wrap up this vehicle nicely. Now, we are running out of time, but there is a ton to cover, so I hopefully covered a lot of the gist of this vehicle. It is an amazing multi-purpose vehicle, and I think you should definitely give it a try. Alright everyone, thank you so much for joining me on this iteration of Steel City Motors vehicle highlights. You should definitely come in and drive this vehicle for yourself and see how much it really has to offer. So head on over to 1011 Old Cedar Grove Road here in Moody, Alabama, off of I-20 exit 144, or head on over to steelcitymotors.com if you're not already. Thank you so much, and we'll see you